Okay, here we go. The great return to the Big Boys League podcast. We've taken probably a month or two, probably longer than a month or two hiatus, and we're back. And today we've got Jeremy and we've got Anthony, and we're going over the
What's up?
trimester check-in. What's up, Jeremy? Hey, Anthony.
How's it going?
We are going over the trimester check-in on the power rankings for where we are at with the league right now. So, first of all, before I jump into it, I want to say a little bit about what the criteria is. This is not a power ranking based off of someone's like overall dynasty prospects. This is specifically just also this is very subjective. This is Tyler's opinion. I have not polled anybody. This is just me. This is just me working off of,
So
you
these
know,
are Tyler's power rankings. Tyler power rankings.
absolutely. These are Tyler's power rankings.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
And
just
all
thrown into
right.
this, so I'm very interested to see what we got going on.
again, the criteria is the
Yeah,
threat to win
I
this
haven't seen it
year's
yet,
title.
Anthony, either.
The threat to win this year's title, and I'm going off of obviously the current record, how many points they've scored, kind of the makeup of their team, where I can kind of get a sense of like, are they underperforming, are they overperforming, and then also a little bit the sense of just like, well, what are the assets that this team potentially has in terms of maybe making a deal to maybe make their team a little bit stronger if they wanted to go for it, that kind of stuff. So these are my predictions essentially for kind of like the end of the year placements. If I were to look at them right now. So we'll open up
Ooh, let's.
reverse order to the standings here. We're starting off with Johnny. Now it can be a little bit of a hard decision and it's an easy decision at the same time. Now, it's a hard decision in my opinion because there are, and we said this at the start of the year in some of our other podcasts, Johnny does have a strong kind of optimal starting lineup if everything's going well, nobody's injured. His best starting team is, I think, a formidable team, a potential playoff team. So, but it's either a mix of just bad luck and injuries, some self-inflicted wounds. I mean, at the end of the day, he is 0-4, and he's the only team that's 0-4 right now, and we're only going through a 12-week regular season. So he'd have to, go on a heck of a run to potentially make the playoffs and actually make a run. Now it's possible. You're not dead yet, but that's why he came in at number 12. He also, I believe, has scored the lowest points in the league thus far as well, with 508. So you'll see some other teams up here as well. But what are your initial thoughts on Johnny being number 12 in my rankings?
So this is where you predict people are going to end the year necessarily, not where they stand right now. Is that correct?
No, not necessarily. I mean, it could kind of be that way. This is essentially just what I would say. My criteria was the threat to win this year's title. And I would say Johnny is the least likely right now to win this year's title. And a big piece of that was the fact that he's currently 0-4. I do think if he snuck into the playoffs, he has potentially a better shot than some of the other bottom ranked teams that may be making some noise if everything kind of plays out that way. But he's 0-4. He'd have to go on a heck of a win streak. Heading into the bye weeks, he doesn't have much of a bench as well. I don't see him winning enough games to make it into the playoffs at all. That's why I've got him least likely to win the title. He might finish higher
I
than
Okay.
agree
12.
with it. I mean, I agree with the ranking, though. I think Johnny, I think a lot of it's just been bad luck. I mean, if you take a look at his roster, a lot of IR, a lot of, pup statuses, a lot of out statuses. I mean, his best players just haven't been available. And that's super difficult. He also, arguably, I think Johnny also, I think had one of the toughest schedules, I think, to kind of start off there. Didn't he go against Anthony and then Sam? I mean, week 1 and 2. So that's really difficult,
He
right? I
did.
mean,
He
I think
did.
we always predicted Sammy and Anthony to be, at least on paper, top contenders. And the fact that Johnny had to go up against with a not healthy team, that's really difficult. And then as the injuries just kind of piled on, he's down to 0-4 now. And I think with a lot of the players on his team, I don't know when those players are coming back. And if they do come back, he could potentially be out of it, for the playoffs already. So yeah, I think this makes sense.
He did open up with Anthony and then Sam, you're right. And then he lost as well to me, and then he lost to Lee as well. So he's heading in, the bye weeks are starting soon. This is where you need to rely on your depth and your bench players and that kind of stuff. And, it's not impossible, but that's why he comes in at number 12 for me.
I'm gonna be a little optimistic and just, with number 12, we'll see. It's very early in the season, like you mentioned, tough schedule, but he does have a lot of running backs that are coming on because of injury. Whether that be Chuba Hubbard, even James Robinson's finally getting his footing, scoring well, putting up some points. He has, Elijah Mitchell, which was a good trade that he got from Brandon. So, I mean, he has some potential coming back. Taysom Hill finally put up some points. So he has a positive sense, and like he could still sneak in there. And I have seen Johnny before sneak into a playoff in some other leagues.
All right. So the next on my list, I have number 11. We've got Jeremy. We've got Jeremy on the
Ooh,
line. Interested to know his
No,
thoughts here on this
how
one.
dare you?
You
shot
know,
Wow.
taken.
I'm not
Shots
gonna
fired.
lie, not trying to hurt any feelings or anything like that, but this was a little bit of a balance
How
between.
dare you?
I was thinking
No.
Jeremy at 12 for a second. Uh, but
That's
he's
fine.
got that extra win. He's got that extra win. He does have a few more points than Johnny. I think he's got a little bit more depth than Johnny as well to be able to navigate and maybe get some additional wins in these bye weeks and everything. But I don't think it's Jeremy's year. I think he's got future year potentials, but I think Jeremy would say the same thing. It was really just kind of, does he belong at 11? Whether it was 10, 11, and 12, I wasn't too worried about that, but I've got him coming in at 11 thus far. Jeremy, what do you have to say for yourself?
It's fine. I get it. I was actually more so interested to see what's at the bottom because it's like, well, it's either going to be me or Johnny. So at least in Tyler's opinion, I'm not at the bottom, but I think an argument could be made, and it's warranted. It's fine. My team, I've got a lot of young guys on my team, and a lot of I've drafted for a lot of potential that weren't necessarily going to play a whole lot this year. So I'm fine with it. To be completely honest, I'm surprised that I'm not also 0-4. I had a really crazy, when Mark Ingram and Tyrod Taylor carry you, and Gronk with 30 plus points carry you to, a week one win against Johan's team. That's very shocking and surprising. So I'm okay with that 11.
All
To be
right.
honest, I'm surprised you don't have more depth on your roster now I'm looking at it. You got some old men on there still, Jeremy.
Hey, you know what? You gotta win the consolation bracket somehow. You gotta win the consolation bracket somehow. Need some of those trusty vets.
Yeah.
How about that Trey Lance though? Garoppolo going down. You looking forward to that?
Heck yeah. Lance and Fields. I mean, my two players I thought would maybe start by the end of the season, but I mean, we're third of the way there, and both of them may start. So I'm not going to complain about that either.
I'll say post draft, like when Jeremy was able to get Fields and Lance, I'm thinking like this is like the perfect kind of draft for Jeremy where he needed two QBs. He gets two like electric running QBs, and you start off this season thus far. I mean, they haven't started just yet. I feel like Fields just kind of got in there. They haven't really taken off, but this could be one of those years of growth that Jeremy goes through. Eventually those guys are going to get the starting roles. If it's not this season, not too worried about this season for when that is for them. For Jeremy, this is kind of a building year, and we'll see what he can do. But he won't need quarterbacks for a little while, so that's pretty cool for him. Moving on, I've got number 10. I've got Aaron, and this is a bit of a fall from grace from Aaron. I think he was a playoff team last year. He was one of the top contenders last year, but this year he's only scored 522 points. It is near the bottom ish, and had a little bit of bad luck. But if you look at his roster, despite having Cooper Kupp, who's the number one wide receiver and just crazy overperformer. I think Zach Wilson off to a slow start really kind of hurt him. His bench is not so great. AJ Brown has not been good. Again, Zach Wilson started off slow. Just looking like a rough stretch here. Might be looking like a just not Aaron's year, maybe a rebuilding year, refocusing type year. Interesting fall from grace here, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he's got a little bit of the injury bug out for him. AJ Brown going down. I'm just looking at his roster. He's got several people on
Cook,
IR.
Dalvin Cook.
Cook's been out.
Hmm.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook, injury prone. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire finally showed up to play, and yeah, I'm surprised though with Cooper Kupp, Marquise Brown, a couple players coming online. Uh, but he does have the fourth most points scored against him. So I mean, it's a little unfortunate.
Whew,
Also
that's tough
true.
too.
Also true.
Yeah.
Early on, I think schedule really does have a huge piece to play in some of this. So had a rough go of that so far.
I was just looking at it. Sorry, I'm going off the cusp right here. Johnny has 46 more points scored against him than the next person behind him.
Hmm. Yeah, well, he's gone up against some two top teams here, obviously with you and Sam, and then he's just lost his other games, and they've had decent weeks against him. Myself and I can't remember who else he went up against, but yeah, no, Johnny's definitely had a rough schedule. So I mean, early on, I think schedule is very much a huge piece of these rankings. Okay, anyways, Chris. I had Chris coming in at number 9. So Chris is the lowest ranked of the 2-2 teams at the moment. He definitely has some bright spots. We're not all the way at the bottom right here. We're number 9. He's still striking distance in the playoffs. If he picked up another game, he'd be over 500. He's got Herbert. Herbert's doing amazing. Aaron Jones is doing fantastic. Like, his squad is actually pretty strong. I would say out of all the teams that I've got ranked here, Chris probably maybe is one of the ones with the highest variance where he could be higher here. Not too bad thus far.
Yeah, he actually has a decent amount of depth. I mean, Joe Mixon was a huge add for him, so he's going to add a lot more running back points where he needed it. I think he gave up quite a bit, but it makes sense for his team. And, again, running back's the most injured, so he has that depth there. I am a little worried about his tight end situation, but he can fix that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He did trade for Joe Mixon, so he traded one, Jacobs, right, who look presumably injured, ended up playing on Monday night for Joe Mixon, who's now listed as questionable. So, yeah, it'd be interesting. He gave up Devontae Smith there. I feel like everyone, both of you here know, very well documented how much they adore Devontae Smith. So I didn't like the trade. I think that actually puts him back a little bit, but that's just my opinion and my bias there.
Yeah, I thought when I saw that, my initial reaction was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe Smith was on the move here." I kind of felt like Brian won that trade. But then when I looked at it a little bit more, I was like, well, if you remember and you keep into perspective, you play to win the game, you play to win a championship, to make some noise in the playoffs. And what Chris needed right there, more than Devonta Smith, was kind of a top tier running back. And I'm not the biggest fan of Mixon, but he does have some decent upside for the season. Obviously, this was before he got hurt, and we'll see how he deals with that injury. But it was interesting. I actually didn't hate the trade after I gave it a little bit much of a kind of a second thought. So we'll see how that goes.
At least you guys know that the Devontae Smith went to a manager who's more than willing to trade. So
Oh, always open for
I
business
don't
for the
know.
right price.
I'm sure Brandon will find some way to trade him for something else.
For something, for sure, for sure. Coming in at number 8 here, this also could be another case where potentially it's too low. Another 2-2 team. I've got Lee right here at number 8. So he's scored 568 points, which is reasonably high, kind of right there in the middle. Uh, Actually, decent strength of schedule. I mean, I feel like this is a well-deserved kind of 2-2. He's earned his 2-2 record. His team is not too bad. He's got Rodgers, has been great. I don't know. It's just kind of ho hum to me, kind of in the middle. If he had Deshaun Watson actually playing for him, and if he had Kyle Pitts maybe hitting his stride a little bit faster, as we know tight ends kind of take a while to kind of come online. I mean, if this was this exact roster a couple years from now or something, like I could see this being a little bit better. But as of right now, I've kind of got him right here in this middle range. What do you guys think?
I think with David Montgomery out, he might have some issues, and with Antonio Gibson also splitting carries, I think McKissick has earned a little more of the share. So, and looking at his depth, I'm worried for Lee, to be honest. I mean, again, his players aren't that bad, but just the situation, what's going on in the league, I would, yeah, just be a little worried that he doesn't have the depth to back it up.
Mm-hmm. Those are some good points.
Well, yeah, I mean, Miles Gaskin, right? He was supposed to be one of the biggest value picks this year, and he just has been super disappointing. It just hasn't been good. I think with Tua not being there, that's really hurt his draft stock. I mean, we don't have any Miami running back as you know, Tyler, that's even worth starting, at this point.
Yeah, I don't think there's
But
a single
Gaskin was
Dolphin
who,
worth starting
yeah.
except for maybe Jalen Waddle. Like there's I well Gasecki has also been okay the last couple of games.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dolphins have just been a train
So,
wreck.
but yeah, Gaskin should have been a pretty good one for him and to kind of help, with losing. Because, I mean, I felt like Lee actually had one of the better running back depth in the league and stuff. But I think with Gaskin just not picking up where he left off last year, that hurts quite a bit and everything. So, and then now with David Montgomery going out, I think they said like what, up to 5 weeks. Could be a tough stretch for Lee, but I like where he's at in these rankings. And again, if Watson was playing, that'd be totally different. Too. I think the other big thing is let's remember that Lee gave up, some pieces to get Pitts. Kyle Pitts hasn't exactly, yeah, he hasn't exactly been what I thought he was going to be. I mean, they're very pedestrian type numbers in my opinion. Number 22 ranked, tight end right now. So I mean, it's just yeah. So I thought that was a little bit interesting there. I think Lee was probably, if I was Lee anyway, I would have been expecting a little bit of a bigger lift there in a tight end premium league with Kyle Pitts, but I don't think we've seen that. But Atlanta's Cordero Patterson, man, that's who you got to pick up.
He's stealing the show. He's stealing the show. You got
That's who you got to get.
That is who you got to get. Yeah, I think that Pitts, he's obviously super super talented, but tight ends take a little while. I mean, to be honest, if Pitts would have came out and immediately like started putting up huge numbers, like that would just would have been insane. Like he's already kind of like historically unique for where he's already at. So, well, I don't know. He's just coming down to earth a little bit here, but I still think he'll be good. Next on the list, this is a little bit of a little jumble from the current standings. I've got Johan. Johan, again, these are my rankings based off of who I think is currently situated to threaten for a title here. He is only 1-3 at the moment, but he is a step above points wise. Everybody else on the list so far by a fairly wide margin. He's had a rough schedule. He did pick up a win against Zach, which is a quality win. Almost put up 200 points, which is huge. And then he just kind of had unlucky schedule here. Jeremy beat him week 1, putting up ridiculous point total, and then he's lost super close ones to Chris, and then he lost just this last week to Brandon by 2 points here. So again, rough schedule, but you've got someone who finished second in the league last year, so his roster is at least decent. He's got Jackson, he's got Henry, Carson, Thielen, Woods. Knox has been amazing so far. He's making me look really stupid because I think I had him at one point and dropped him like last year. Tannehill. I mean, I just think his roster is pretty solid. He's got some decent depth for as you head into the bye weeks. And he's scored a lot of points so far, so I've got him coming in right at 7. Thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's towards the top of the rankings in terms of the people that are performing for him, and he does have depth again to back it up. He's got Damian Williams coming to Chicago, should be the #1 running back going into it. Daryl Henderson should be coming back, if not already. I mean, he already scored 16 points, so we'll see where his injury is. Even like Arizona's been lights out right now, right? Like a huge high octane scoring machine. And even AJ Green, the old man, is putting up points. So, I mean, he's got some potential to carry on.
Absolutely. So coming in at number 6 here, I'm slotting myself into this spot here. A big piece of this probably has to do
Oh
with
my
the.
God.
I gotta
Making the
think.
playoffs. This
Maybe,
guy making the playoffs.
maybe you guys
Oh my
hadn't
God.
seen my name coming up, and you're like, did Tyler put himself #1? The audacity! That would have been something. But I'm slotting myself in here at number 6 in terms of threat for this year's title. I'm 2-2. Don't forget about that. My points scored is somewhat low. In fact, it's the second lowest, just above Johnny here.
It's
But
very low. Very
I
low.
I also
Very
took
low.
2 quality losses against Sam and Anthony, and then I was able to pick up 2 wins against Johnny and now Chris here. I think my depth is above average in the league as we head into the bye weeks and all of that good stuff. So I'm optimistic on what I can do. Um, I'm slotting myself in at 6. I think maybe Johan could probably be ranked higher than me, but I've got a lot of assets. If I wanted to push a couple of those in for another player or two, I feel like I'm fringe playoff team, and that's what number 6 represents here. So that's where I'm slotting myself, the eternal optimist, and never tanking. That's for damn sure.
All right, Tyler. I'm gonna go ahead and say that the
Take
biggest
him to
thing you
task,
lack,
Anthony.
the biggest thing you lack that makes you that you won't even get close to 6 is your QB strength. Like Trevor Lawrence, and then in your super flex, you got Rondale Moore. You do have depth, but that's future depth. That's not current depth.
I
You
did
have
lose Tua. That hurts me bad. It hurts me bad.
you
We'll
need
be
game
excited to get
changers.
him back.
I think you have 2 game changers on your roster, one in Saquon and one in Justin Jefferson. But besides that, everyone's like, meh. They can get you double digits, they can get you a baseline, they can get you consistency, but you're not going to win a championship. Come on.
We'll see, man. We'll see. I'm
I'd
feeling good.
probably I'd put you a couple slots down. I don't think I'd be optimistic at 6. I don't think you'll be a fringe playoff team just because I don't for that 6 spot. You got to be able to put up points, right? I think that's where Johan
That's also true.
he's got King Henry, right? So he can and Johan's team has, and some of these other teams too. I even think Lee's team can put up points. I don't know. Like Anthony was saying, you've got guys that will kind of have some pretty big weeks or consistently be high scorers. I just don't know if you'll have enough punch elsewhere. Your running back situation too is like you got your best running back, tends to get hurt quite a bit, hasn't played a full season since his rookie year. Miles Sanders, and you don't really have any other running backs after there. But like you said, Tyler, you've got the assets to make a push there. So I guess I could see the argument. But if I'm looking at a current state of your like where you're at, I'd probably put you a couple slots down there. I think a little bit of bias on our creator of these power rankings here, but
Some fair criticism. You know what? You can make your own power rankings. You can slot yourself where you want. All right, coming in. Before I go to number 5 here, I will say actually your point about the number 6 playoff spot is really well taken there. You do need the highest remaining point or highest point total out of the bottom 7 teams essentially to take that six seed, and I had thought about that a little bit when I was making these, and as I'm looking at my team, not having that second quarterback because Tua got hurt is
Yep.
really, really, really
mm-hmm.
hurting me. Like I've been like decently fortunate to pick up the last 2 wins that I've picked up without starting a second quarterback. I did try to trade for a quarterback. I sent some offers out all around the league for the most part and wasn't able to get one. So when
Hey, I did not get one, and Drew Lock is starting next week, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, not very
You know what
interested in the
also
reason
hurts,
you didn't get one. But anyways, what were you saying, Jeremy?
Tyler? You know what also hurts in terms of QBs? Not having Kyler Murray.
That also
Ooh.
hurts. That also
Oh, I
hurts.
wonder where the person who has Kyler Murray now. I wonder where they're going to be in the power rankings, but I'll wait for that.
I wonder
Tyler gave
what my
away a cheat code.
ranking. Yeah,
You don't
I
share
wonder.
cheat codes, Tyler. What are you doing?
Anyways, I wonder where my ranking would be if I still had Kyler on my team. How many points? How many more points I would have? But
All right.
anyways, moving on to number 5 here, we got Brandon coming in at 3-1. We're heading into the kind of the top tier contenders at this point. Handful of these teams are all going to be locked in at 3-1 right now. So he scored a lot of points, 577 here. He has expended a lot of future assets to be able to really bulk up his team right now. His starting lineup is pretty strong. He's got Darnold, who's been absolutely fantastic thus far. Najee Harris is good. Trey Sermon, man, we'll see what happens there. His receivers are interesting. Fant has been doing well. Like this is a strong team. This is a strong top half of the league type team. We'll see if he can put it together for a playoff run. I do think there's a bit of a gap kind of at the very very top between everybody else, but a decently strong contending team right now for Brandon.
Well deserved spot.
And
Yeah,
you,
I
and you
think
know he's going to make whatever moves he has to make to address a weakness or a shortcoming or something. You know Brandon's going to make that move.
Brandon is the hardest working manager in the entire league.
Heck
I
yeah,
have
he
heard,
is.
heard from multiple
Yeah,
managers that he is constantly sending out deals, and that takes time. So you know what? He has put together quite the
Mr. Hustler
roster.
himself.
Yeah. I mean,
Hustler.
look, Sam Darnold, like what a catch! Like look at him go. And yeah,
Right.
but he's got a young team. Like he can actually make this team last. So I'm excited for
Yeah.
Brandon.
Looking to
Yeah.
see
I
where he
mean,
got
he.
Sam Darnold. He picked Darnold up from Zach.
He's also gonna get Bateman and Judy back. So like, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
like he could come online, further into
Yeah.
the season pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, I think Brandon's done a good job. He literally has no draft capital, but again, to Anthony's point, you take a look at
Literally
the young
none.
talent. Yeah, literally none. But you know what? I think when you take a look at the young talent he has on his team, as someone who's shopped frequently at you know, on Brandon's team, like he's got some good young talent, on there and stuff. So I guess if you're not going to have any draft capital, I guess I'd be happy with the young assets I do have and stuff. But still containing, I mean, for someone who's literally like turned his roster like 5 times, you got to give it to him.
Absolutely. All right, coming in at number 4 here, and he does have a slightly less good record as Brandon, 2-2. Brandon's 3-1, but he does have a good chunk more points scored here, so probably just some unluckiness with the schedule here. But I've got Zach coming in at number 4, first member of the 600 club here that we're reaching into.
Woo!
Zach he's super wise in the fantasy football ways. He always plays super well. He made
Whoa,
decent
whoa, whoa,
trades
whoa,
in the
wait.
offseason. Yes, sir.
Johan has 600 points.
Johan's got 600. Johan has 110 points more than you, Tyler, who put yourself in at number 6. So just
Just
That's
let
true.
let me know.
That's
sorry,
true.
sorry,
Thanks. I appreciate that. You know what? The record speaks for itself. Johan's at 1-3. He's got some work to do. He'll get there.
Oh,
He'll get there. But I'm putting Zach in at number 4.
all right.
Putting Zach in at number 4. He plays really well. He's got Josh Allen. He's got the GOAT. He's got Brady. I mean, he's wise. He's gonna make good decisions. He's got good depth. He doesn't even have Michael Thomas playing just yet, so he'll be coming back at some point. Picked up Josh Gordon. Just got promoted to the Chiefs today. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Zach. He's playing well.
I think Zach's gonna need some RB help. That's all I gotta say. But you know what? I won last year without any RBs, so both my starting RBs are sitting on my bench, nice and comfy.
Yeah, I'm actually, yeah, I think Zach is sitting there. I do think that obviously we kind of can tell now who's going to be at the top 3 here. I do think that there's a gap there, between them and where Zach's at. At the same time, though, Zach has the ability, I think, to make that jump. I'm very interested to see what moves, if any, Zach does make to kind of get in there, but I think he can do it. So, but it would just be interesting to see what he does with that. So I like him. I like him at number 4.
All right. Coming in at number 3, I've got the regulator himself. We're sliding Anthony in at number 3 at a 3-1 record. This of course leaves Jasper and Sam remaining. The question is where do I have them? But the real question Anthony's probably asking himself is how does he get number 3 here? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. It's tied for the same record. It's looking at the points. And really, it just kind of comes down to the teams ahead of him. I'm just super impressed with. Anthony does have a strong team. He's got, obviously a super formidable starting lineup. In many ways, you can say in certain cases, part of it is kind of even underperformed. Ridley has actually not done so well thus far in the season as he could have been. He was predicted to be probably like a top 5 wide receiver. He's sitting at number 21 right now. He really had his first decent game. Well, I guess he's been kind of fairly consistent. He just really hasn't exploded. Waller's obviously super good. He's got decent pieces on his bench, the biggest of which being, of course, Christian McCaffrey, who's been out. So he's definitely a contender. If you're, in the top 3, you're a contender for sure. So I'm expecting Anthony to be there. But I slotted him in number 3, and we'll talk about number 2 moving forward. But that's where I've got Anthony.
Thoughts from the regulator himself.
I mean, I do have some disappointing pieces. Like Allen Robinson, I think is my number 1 most disappointing. That
Oh,
guy
that
has
hurts.
always been consistent, always putting up
Yep.
double digits, and only has 1 double digit and barely. He scored 10 points. So I don't know if it's a changing of the guard in there in Chicago or what's going on. He's always played with poor QBs, so that one hurts. So, but I still got Deontay Johnson again. Ben, I think is going to be out, and Big Ben's not been doing this well. Tyler touched upon Ridley, so I feel like I do have a lot of underperformers. I am excited though that Swift has picked up quite a bit and is doing extremely well. Dak has been putting up numbers, and of course Tyreek Hill and Mahomes. So I do have some pieces to carry the rest of my team. But yeah, I got some pieces that are not performing as well as I would expected.
Anthony does have the easiest schedule of the league thus far. He's only had 473 points scored against him. No one else even has less than 500 scored against him. Many people have well over 600. Johnny has like 700 points scored against him. So Anthony has been skating by on a cupcake schedule. We call that the Alabama out of conference schedule that Anthony's going up against here. But still, definitely a contender. If anything, as we've said, his players have underperformed, so you'd expect him to be even stronger. But coming in at number 2, I do have Jasper, also at 3-1. He does edge out Anthony here with just a few more points scored on the season thus far. Um, just a really well, you can tell Jasper has his fingerprint on this roster. Lots of Jasper Dollarhide looking guys on his team. Stafford's doing great. He's got Zeke, he's got Eckler, Adams, McLaurin, Cooper, Andrews, Burrow. Like every single one of these guys are like top tier players. He's got good depth as well. Obviously, super smart player. Cordell Patterson picked that guy up. So I mean, Jasper, even though you don't hear much from him on the message boards, pretty sure he's got all of us muted because he doesn't have time for us. He's making smart decisions. He's going to make the moves that he needs to be competitive. He's just playing well. This is a very Jasper Dollarhide-esque team, and it's not a surprise that he's at the top for me.
Yeah, Jasper has just a ton of strength across the board. Like he has a very
Mm-hmm.
starting lineup, and his depth goes well into his roster. Like it's shocking to see how much talent he has on his roster. You just look how many double-digit points were put up on his bench week to week. It's pretty intimidating.
Yeah, Jasper's. I think when we looked at the preseason projections, I think I had Jasper kind of. He was kind of my big pick. I mean, obviously Sam made some big moves since then, but it kind of shows how good Jasper's kind of drafted. Initially,
He doesn't
he
make a
hasn't
lot of
traded as
moves.
much with a
He
lot of
doesn't
people.
doesn't really
So
trade.
yeah,
He just
yeah,
kind of drafts. He just kind of makes good free agent decisions, and he just kind of lets things ride. And they're working out for him. He's kind of the anti Johnny. Johnny is just trading his team down into the dust, and Jasper just drafts it and holds firm, and is just this monolith right here at the top. Anyways, um, moving on to number 1, the only remaining unbeaten team, sitting at 4-0. He does have the highest scored points in the league as well. Of course, we're talking about Sam. He's got the number 1 overall player in. Oh my God, he's moved down to number 2. Actually, I lied. I just clicked on him. Kyler Murray's moved down to number 2. Don't know who passed him. Who's number 1? It's not Mahomes, is it? Somebody else? Is it Matt Stafford? Who's the number
ooh,
1 QB?
I don't know.
Oh, it is
Probably Derek
Mahomes.
Carr.
It's Mahomes, actually. So it looks like Mahomes had the huge week 4 that put him ahead here, and then Kyler, I think, had just kind of a average week 4 here. Anyways, was the number 1 overall player for the first quarter here until Mahomes just passed him out here. I mean, his team is just super strong, extremely strong starting lineup. I had to say strongest in the league as it currently stands. Um, you know, a little bit of depth questions. I don't see anybody I'm super excited about. Maybe like Juju on his bench that I'd be super thrilled to start. But he's still got lots of assets to continue to make moves. I think this is just based off of, he's 4-0. He's got a super strong starting lineup that you would expect him to be able to, barring injuries, to be able to wheel out there into the playoffs, and he'll be extremely hard to beat. But that's where I've got the top team as of right now. What do you guys think? What are you guys thinking of Sam so far?
I think Sam has a very strong team. I don't think he has as much depth as let's say a Jasper or whatnot, but he does have a lot of pieces on his roster that have taken off this year. Between just specifically looking at Debo Samuel and DJ Moore, like those guys are getting the lion's share of work, and if they keep it up, he's definitely fixed up a lot of the wide receiver issues that he had before. I think he had those guys; they just weren't performing last year, but they've really come on this year.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. What do you think, Jeremy?
Oh, Jeremy muted himself.
Good talk. Good talk. He might actually be dealing with some kiddo issues as well. But anyways, those are the 2021 to 2022 power rankings as I currently see them. Again, you could maybe make some arguments here or there, probably more so in like the middle. Maybe I've got myself ranked a little bit too high. Maybe I've got Johan in particular and Lee perhaps ranked a little bit too low. But that's where I'm coming out thus far. I'll probably do this again in another couple of weeks. It'll be interesting to see. We've also got another month plus a little bit longer for the trade deadline. Moves are still to be made. We're entering the bye week, so this is when the depth is really going to kind of come into play. But it's been a super fun season so far. Excited about how everything's going. Any final closing thoughts here, Anthony?
Yeah, Brandon, what are you gonna do when the trade deadlines hits? We'll have to find out that answer and bring Brandon on once upon a time. No, beside that, I think it's been a great year. It's been very interesting. We'll continue to see how it changes and evolves.
All right, gentlemen. Well, with that, I think we'll sign off on this one. But thanks for taking the time, and we'll get this posted real soon, and we'll look forward to talking to you later. Peace.
See ya.